Today is the Easter Sunday Joy Lane massacre.
Can you say Joy Lane?
Joy Lane.
Yeah, she's the reason why this is about to happen to you.
This is Robert Godwin Sr., a 74-year-old grandfather from Cleveland who had just finished Easter dinner with his family when he walked up to a stranger on the street, pointed a gun at his head, and pulled the trigger while recording the whole thing live. The man behind the camera was not some lifelong criminal. He was a social worker with a clean record, a government license to carry a gun, and a woman at home who loved him. But underneath all of that, a gambling addiction had been slowly eating him alive, and the moment his girlfriend finally told him to choose between her and the casino, something in him completely broke.
Let them get some peace. Just turn yourself in, please.
The mother of two of Robert Godwin's children could not hold back her tears.
He took my kid's father from him. And you still breathing out here. My babies is hurting.
Angela Smalls and her children stood in the same spot on East 93rd Street where her boyfriend and their father was killed on Sunday.
Nobody knew that my daddy was gonna die yesterday on Easter.
To really understand why a 74-year-old grandfather who had never done anything to anybody ended up dead on an Easter Sunday afternoon, you have to start with the man who killed him and trace how he got to that point, because it did not happen overnight. Steve William Stevens was 37 years old and had been living in Cleveland, Ohio his whole life. On the surface, this was a man who had things going for him. He worked at Beachbrook, a mental health agency in Pepper Pike, Ohio, a place that helped children and troubled families get back on their feet. He had been there for about 9 years, starting as a youth mentor in 2008, before working his way up to a role where he helped young adults find jobs and rebuild their lives. His salary was around $28,800 a year. Not rich, but steady enough.
Steve loved me probably like no man has ever loved me before.
You still think of him as a good guy?
I think of him as a good guy who did something really wrong.
When Beachbrook ran his background check at the time of hiring, the FBI and Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigation found absolutely nothing on his record. The only complaints his managers ever wrote up on him were for missing paperwork and skipping appointments. So on paper, this man looked fine, but paper does not tell you everything. On the personal side, Stevens had been with a woman named Joy Lane for about 3 years. Joy was also a social worker, which tells you something about the kind of people they both presented themselves as. He was living with her and her 3 young daughters at her home in Twinsburg, Ohio. Neighbors said he was good to those girls. He and Joy had talked about getting married and had gone together to look at rings. From the outside, they looked like a regular couple building something together.
Yes.
Just 2 days before the killing, Joy says everything seemed fine.
I was in my bedroom and he was downstairs getting ready for work. And he said, hey, babe. And I said, hey. And he said, have a good day. And I said, you too, have a good day.
The problem was what was happening on the inside, specifically at the casino. Back in January of 2015, Stevens had filed for bankruptcy, the kind where the court basically wipes out your debt because you have nothing left to pay it with. He owed more than $35,000 total. The biggest chunk, about $21,000, was still on a loan for a 2007 Dodge Charger that was only worth around $10,000 at that point. He also owed more than $5,000 in student loans and another $5,000 spread across credit card collectors and payday loan companies. His entire bank account had $350 in it. When you look at that bankruptcy filing, there's not a single casino listed as a creditor, no gambling debts on paper or casinos owed money. But his bankruptcy lawyer at the time, a man named Trent Binger, noticed something very important. During their meetings before filing the paperwork, Stevens had mentioned a gambling problem. That means the addiction was already there years before anyone outside his close circle would see it.
I told him, the gambling is a deal breaker. It's me or gambling.
She played us a phone message Stevens left her, promising to change.
What your reaction was when you heard that he had killed himself?
I screamed and I just cried and I just wailed because I really just wanted him to turn himself in.
Joy says she never imagined the man she loved would ever commit such an unthinkable crime.
He was using payday loans and credit cards to feed casino visits he could never actually afford, and just not telling anyone the full truth about it. The court discharged his bankruptcy in August of 2015 and closed the case in May of 2016. This gave him a chance to build back up properly, but he did not take it. By around August of 2016, barely a year after that fresh start, Stevens was being taken to court for not paying rent at his apartment in Warrensville Heights. The property management company filed for eviction. They eventually dropped the eviction itself, but still got a court judgment against him for nearly $1,800 in unpaid back rent. By late March of 2017, they were approved by the court to take money directly out of his Beachbrook paycheck through what is called wage garnishment. The job he had built his life around was now being dipped into by his landlord before he even saw his check. Then, in January of 2017, he was evicted from a separate apartment in Euclid for not paying rent again. 2 evictions in under 18 months after a bankruptcy he had just survived. With nowhere left to go, he was now fully relying on Joy Lane's home in Twinsburg to have a roof over his head. And even through all of that, he kept going to the casino.
I just think that my book came out at a time that it was really, really needed.
4 years ago, Tanya lost her father, Robert Godwin Sr., on Easter Sunday. He was collecting cans in the Glenville area when his killer, Steve Stevens, randomly opened fire on Facebook Live.
So I opened up my phone and I saw the video, and my children had to restrain me. I tried to jump out on 480. I was a wreck.
Stevens was well known at the Jack Cleveland Casino in downtown Cleveland. Neighbors who knew him said they would see him there regularly. One neighbor remembered him asking her to come sit with him at the tables because he wanted her to be his lucky charm. He was also making trips out to Presque Isle Downs and Casino in Pennsylvania, which he called the Erie Casino when he talked about it. Pennsylvania State Police later confirmed he had been visiting that casino regularly, but had not been back since March of 2017, which was roughly a month after the murder. Joy Lane had already reached her limit with all of this. She had given him an ultimatum: choose the gambling or choose her. And in later interviews, she described it in a way that made it clear she wasn't angry at the man she fell for. She was angry at what the addiction had turned him into. She still believed he loved her. But the problem is, love does not cancel out what a gambling addiction does to a person when they're neck deep in it and out of options.
Away the most with my father is he taught us about God, how to fear God, how to love God, and how to forgive.
Yes.
And each one of us forgive the killer, the murderer.
You do.
We want to wrap our arms around him.
We absolutely do. We don't. I honestly can say right now that I hold no animosity in my heart against this man, because I know that he's a sick individual. I know that, you know, because of his sickness, whatever evil overtook him that caused him to do this to my dad is not him. It wouldn't be something he would typically do. And I promise you, I could not do that if I did not know God. If I didn't know him as my God and my Savior, I could not forgive that man. And I feel no animosity against him at all. I feel sadness in my heart for this man. I do. I feel real sadness.
All of us.
What makes this even harder to sit with is the fact that this man was showing up every day to a job helping broken young people rebuild their lives, while his own life was quietly crumbling in every direction. The gap between the image he put out and the reality he was living in was massive. On the morning of April 14, 2017, Joy said everything between them still seemed completely normal. That was the last ordinary moment between them. Later that same day, he called or texted her to say he had quit his job and was moving out of state. He tried to reach her again that Saturday night. She picked up and they spoke briefly. She had no way of knowing that the next time she would hear his name, it would be all over the news for the worst possible reason.
That was my daddy. And then that man killed my daddy for no reason.
It's heartbreaking.
Before we get to what Stevens did, let's talk for a second about the man he chose to do it to, because Robert Godwin Sr. deserves more than a footnote. Robert Lee Godwin Sr. was born on September 7, 1942, in Plantersville, Alabama. He moved to Cleveland in his early 20s and spent most of his life on East 146th Street in the Glenville neighborhood. He worked in foundries for years, the kind of hard physical work that doesn't get glamorized but keeps cities running. He retired eventually, but never really slowed down. He had 10 children, 14 grandchildren, and by every account from his kids, he was the kind of man who made time for people. He taught his son how to fish and helped his neighbors. His sister said he used to call every Saturday just to hear your voice. His brother said all he ever did was love everybody. On April 16, 2017, Easter Sunday, Godwin had spent the afternoon having dinner with his family. Afterward, he headed out for a walk in the neighborhood, carrying a plastic bag to collect aluminum cans from the street, something he did as a routine because he was the kind of man who stayed useful. He was walking along the 600 block of East 93rd Street when a white Ford Fusion pulled up near him. Meanwhile, Steve Stevens had spent that same morning posting on Facebook in a way that should have set off every alarm bell imaginable. In one post, he wrote that the past year had completely destroyed him, that he had lost everything he owned to gambling at the Jack Cleveland Casino and the Erie Casino, that he was out of options and at his breaking point. He told Facebook followers he was, in his own words, really on some murder shit, and gave Facebook 4 minutes to give him a reason not to be on death row.
And I want to tell people not to go through grief recklessly like I did, because I lost my faith.
Will Ewick.
Grief is a timeline, and the expiration of grief is when you die.
He was announcing what he was about to do in plain language, in public, on a platform with millions of users, and nobody stopped it. At around 2:01 in the afternoon, Stevens got out of his car on East 93rd Street, walked up to Robert Godwin Sr., and started recording on his phone. Robert Godwin had never seen Steve Stevens before in his life. He didn't know who Joy Lane was. He didn't know why a strange man was pointing a gun at him and asking him to say a woman's name. He repeated the name back because a gun was in his face, and then Stevens shot him once in the head at close range. Godwin was pronounced dead right there on the street. He was picked completely at random, which is the part that is almost impossible to process. This 74-year-old grandfather coming home from Easter dinner got killed simply because he was walking past the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Can you say Joy Lane?
Joy Lane.
Yeah, she's the reason why this is about to happen to you.
After the shooting, Stevens got back in his car and uploaded the recorded video to his Facebook page. He also went live in a separate Facebook stream where he claimed he had already killed 13 people that day and held up his Beachbrook employee badge to the camera while he was talking. Now, early news reports described this as a Facebook Live murder, and that detail spread fast. But Facebook later clarified that the actual killing was recorded on his phone and uploaded after the fact. The live stream he did was a separate confession video. Either way, the murder video stayed up on the platform for over 2 hours before Facebook took any action. By the time they disabled his account, around 23 minutes after the first report of the video, the footage had already been downloaded, screenshotted, and reshared across the internet. Robert Godwin's own grandson had to post a public plea asking people to stop sharing it. Cleveland police had already gotten the call. Officers responded to a report of a man shot around the same time Stevens was still driving away from the scene. When they connected the body on East 93rd Street to the video spreading across social media, they immediately started pulling everything they had on Steve Stevens. At the same time, his own mother was doing the right thing. Maggie Green, Stevens' mother, had seen him the day before, on that Saturday. He showed up at her house and left her with a line that made no sense at the time. "If you see me again, it'll be a miracle." Then, on Sunday, after the murder was already done and the video was already up, he called her. He told her directly that he was shooting people because he was angry at his girlfriend. Her phone died during the call, and as soon as she charged it, she contacted Cleveland police and told them everything.
I was at home and I wasn't feeling well, and a lot of times when I don't feel well, I don't answer my phone. So when my mom first called my cell phone, I didn't answer, but when she called my house phone, when I picked up the phone, she was screaming. And she said, "They saying, your father is dead." And I tried to put some clothes on. And I just ran to my mother's house. My mother lived about 4 doors down from me. And I just want this person to know what he did to our family. Our father was If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, he would come and see about us. Sometimes I couldn't sleep and I could call my dad and he'd talk to me. And I just want him to know what he took from us. He took our dad. I can't even believe I'm never going to talk to my father no more. I can't believe I'm never going to be able to call my father no more. My heart is just broke. My heart is broke.
While all of that was happening, Joy Lane was finding out the same way the rest of the country was, through the news. People who had no idea who she was 24 hours earlier were blaming her for a murder she had absolutely nothing to do with. She and her children received over 1,000 death threats. On April 17th, the day after the shooting, Cleveland police issued an aggravated murder warrant for Stevens. The warrant description they put out read, black male, 6 feet 1 inch tall, 244 pounds, bald with a full beard, wearing a dark blue and gray striped polo shirt, driving a white Ford Fusion with temporary Ohio tag E363630. Armed and dangerous, do not approach. The FBI got involved, with multi-state alerts going out to Pennsylvania, New York, Indiana, and Michigan. A Crime Stoppers reward of $50,000 was put up for information leading to his capture. His face was on billboards, and the entire country was looking for this man, and he was somewhere on the road, unreachable.
I really don't know what I'm going to do without him. I feel so lost.
74-year-old Robert Godwin was Ruby's big brother, best friend, and travel partner before Steve Stevens killed him in cold blood on Easter Sunday and offered it to the whole world on Facebook.
Because I am hurting. God knows, nobody knows what I feel. But like my heart is going to burst.
A tip came in on Sunday afternoon suggesting he might be near Erie, Pennsylvania, but police checked and found nothing. He had already moved on. Then, on Tuesday morning, April 18th, around 11 o'clock, an employee at a McDonald's drive-thru in Harbor Creek Township in Erie County, Pennsylvania, recognized the man sitting in the white Ford Fusion at the window. She stalled his order for as long as she could and called 911. Stevens eventually realized something was wrong and took off before police could block him in. Pennsylvania State Police pursued him westbound along the highway and used a maneuver called a PIT, which stands for Precision Intervention Technique, where officers force a fleeing car to spin out and stop. They stopped his vehicle at the intersection of Buffalo Road and Downing Avenue in Erie, and as the officers moved toward the car, Stevens shot himself in the head with a pistol. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
A lot of negative comments. I've been called almost every cuss word in the book. I've been told that I'm the one who should have died. He should have killed me.
I hug you. Just tell you, not your fault. I love you.
Thank you. I just really wanted to send my condolences, and I'm really sorry that happened to you guys.
We are sorry too, but not your fault.
And I feel, like the last thing that he would have said was my name and didn't know me or why he was saying it, and that's been difficult.
Inside the car, investigators found the dealership folder from Kia of Bedford, where Stevens had bought the Ford Fusion just 11 days before the murder on April 5th. And because Stevens died before he could be arrested, there was never a criminal trial. The closest thing this case ever got to a legal proceeding, where the full picture came out, was the civil lawsuit that Robert Godwin's family filed against Facebook in January of 2018. In that lawsuit, the family argued that Facebook had more than enough information to have seen what Stevens was about to do before he did it. The platform's own tools could track user behavior, location, and the kind of threatening language Stevens was posting publicly that morning. The family's position was that Facebook saw the warning signs and did not act on them, and a man died because of it. That lawsuit was eventually dismissed, and the dismissal was upheld on appeal in 2020. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg addressed the whole situation publicly and announced the company would hire 3,000 more people to review content across the platform. Whether that was enough of a response for what happened is something people are still debating. Now for the part of this story that honestly hits different. Just days after the murder, Two of Robert Godwin's daughters arranged to meet Joy Lane privately through a local news station. They wanted her to hear directly from the family that they did not blame her. The Godwin family showed more grace through all of this than most people could manage. At the funeral on Saturday, April 22nd, at River of Life Ministries in Euclid, Ohio, hundreds of people showed up, including strangers who had never met Robert Godwin. His daughter, Tanya Godwin Baines, said it plainly to the crowd. "It's not always easy to forgive, but we know it's what we have to do, and it's what my father taught us to do. So we forgive Mr. Stevens."
The way the most with my father is he taught us about God, how to fear God, how to love God, and how to forgive.
Yes.
And each one of us forgive the killer, the murderer.
You do.
We want to wrap our arms around him.
We absolutely do. We don't. I honestly can say right now that I hold no animosity in my heart against this man, because I know that he's a sick individual. I know that, you know, because of his sickness, whatever evil overtook him that caused him to do this to my dad is not him. It wouldn't be something he would typically do. And I promise you, I could not do that if I did not know God. If I didn't know him as my God and my Savior, I could not forgive that man. And I feel no animosity against him at all. I feel sadness in my heart for this man. I do. I feel real sadness.
All of us.
Joy Lane also did an interview with Inside Edition after everything settled down. She played them a voicemail Stevens had left her in the days before the killing, one where he sounded calm and motivated, talking about becoming a better person. That voicemail is one of the more painful details in this whole story. While he was leaving her messages about growing as a person, he was also gambling, spiraling, and building up to the worst thing he would ever do. When she found out he had shot himself, her reaction was not relief. She was asked whether she still loved him. She also made clear how she felt about hearing Robert Godwin say her name in that video. In her own words, her reaction to the footage was pure sadness, because that is what this 74-year-old man died thinking, and she was angry at Stephen when she heard it. The Godwin family's legal situation with Joy Lane got complicated after that. Attorneys representing the Godwin family in the Facebook civil lawsuit subpoenaed Joy Lane, asking for all devices and all written communication between her and Stevens. She did not respond to the subpoena, and a court hearing was scheduled to decide if she should be held in contempt. Lane responded by saying that she and the people around her had already been through enough. Their people had lost jobs, and their homes had been broken into. Over 1,000 death threats had come in from all over the world. The attorney said he was just following the legal rules that apply to civil cases, and that she needed to explain her decision to the court. In September of 2017, the city of Cleveland officially renamed a section of East 146th Street, the block Robert Godwin had called home for most of his adult life, as Robert Godwin Sr. Way. Cleveland Mayor Jackson attended the ceremony, and the city councilman who pushed the ordinance said something worth remembering. "It is his life, not his death, that we are happy to honor." His daughter, Tanya Godwin Baines, later spent 3 years writing a book called From Grief to Grace, about processing loss and finding a way through it. She released it around the 4-year anniversary of her father's death. Do you also think Facebook could have prevented the murder from happening? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.
A lot of drama. He didn't fool with drama, and he didn't let things worry him like that.
How are you holding up, Dorothy?
How I'm holding up?
Yes, ma'am.
By the grace of God, I'm gonna make it. By God's grace, I'm gonna make it. But I can't sit here and lie and say it's not hurting. It's hurting me, because it's hurting me very bad, because that was a true friend. You know, we have friends in life that say they're friends, but they're not. But Robert was a true friend to me.
Tammy.
You know, and he respected me.
I'm sorry for the delay. Tammy, your father, Robert Sr., had been walking home after enjoying an Easter meal when this just unbelievable, horrible event happened. How did you hear about it and what happened to your father?
I was at home and I wasn't feeling well, and a lot of times when I don't feel well, I don't answer my phone. So when my mom first called my cell phone, I didn't answer, but when she called my house phone, when I picked up the phone, she was screaming. And she said, they saying, your father is dead. And I tried to put some clothes on. And I just ran to my mother's house. My mother lived about 4 doors down from me. And I just want this person to know what he did to our family. Our father was, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, he would come and see about us. Sometimes I couldn't sleep and I called my dad and he talked to me. And I just want him to know what he took from us. He took our dad. I can't even believe I'm never gonna talk to my father no more. I can't believe I'm never gonna be able to call my father no more. My heart is just broke. My heart is broke.
I'm so sorry.
And at first, I wouldn't watch it.
Well, my first reaction naturally is sadness and disbelief. Everybody started calling me and texting me, did you see that video? Did you see that video? And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? My family started calling me, and at first I was angry. I'm like, why would they do that to my dad? Why would you put it online? Like, I couldn't believe it was my dad. I don't want nobody else to get hurt. I know my dad had to die, I guess, for people to realize that life isn't guaranteed, but I just want everybody to know that you should be kind to everybody you meet and to love your family, because they all you got.
Robbie, can I talk to you about this?
I wouldn't wish that on anybody. The man who videotaped my father getting shot stripped him of his dignity. Stripped him of his dignity. And to post it online for the whole world to see, I'm just angry. No, I don't want that man to die. I want him to be brought to justice. I just want him to be brought to justice. I mean, under these circumstances, my family, we sticking together, we staying strong, because now we got to come together. Now we got to come together. I was in shock when I found out it happened. And I didn't really realize that my father was gone, or it just hadn't registered in my brain. I'm so hurt and just at a loss for words. Boys need their fathers, and mine was taken away from me. And all I want to see is him brought to justice. I want my family to have closure. It's a hole in my heart right now. It's a hole in my heart right now. But one thing I do want to say is I forgive them, because we all sinners, and we need the shed blood of Jesus Christ to save us. And I'm so grateful for that. So if you out there, if you listening, turn yourself in. You done enough damage. Just turn yourself in.
What do you guys want to see happen?
I mean, whatever law enforcement or whoever the higher ups decide to do, that's not in my hands. At the end of the day, that's up to God. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Vengeance is His. It doesn't belong to us to do that. And that's how our dad raised us, to love people. That's a gift, to love people. My family loves people. My mom taught me that. That's a gift. That you're born with that. That's something you don't develop. You are born with that gift. And whatever they decide to do is fine. But I just want them brought to justice. I don't want to see him killed or anything like that. I just want him brought to justice.
Naja, what do you want people to know about what your family's dealing with and how you're gonna get through this? Naja?
I think they could just imagine somebody missing in their family and they'd feel it. Somebody very special to you, somebody very dear and close to you just gone in this broadcast. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
You feel, for no reason, you feel really angry. Like, my dad wasn't bothering anybody.
Tammy, what do you want people to know who are watching about your family and your dad?
I just want people to know that he was a good man.
Yes.
And he was a good father, and he was a family man. And he was a good grandfather. He would do anything for it.